snow cover on top of the ice, so you can't really see underneath. It's, I just came from the admin, and go very, very careful. I recognize probably some people are a little spooked out by the weather, so we'll just go ahead and get into our program. We have Dr. Crawford and Sherry Redhouse joined us for the week to record, so we might be small and mighty here in terms of numbers, but anything and everything being said here is going to contribute in so many ways: our tribal nation building, our strategic planning. Again, I talked about the 50th anniversary of Sinte University coming up here in a little while, and we have a lot of things going on. I talked about SDSU. They'll be here. A delegation will be here on Thursday, and Friday we'll have some ceremonies in the morning. I just got a special announcement from the president. One of the interesting events we had this last year was state review of our nursing program and our teacher education program. And I'm happy to say that the state nursing board approved Sinte University, so we're fully certified, met all the standards, and at last Friday's state higher education board meeting, or I should say teacher education board, the licensure, Sinte passed all the standards in full colors and got the full 7-year gradation period. So we're matched up with any other institution in the state, or actually in the country, with meeting standards. But again, as you heard Dr. Bordeaux talk about earlier, you know, we got to have a strong ownership of our education, and that's going to be the challenge here for us. So what I want to do is just real quickly, well, not really quickly, I'll give you all the time you want, but we are going to go through the agenda. And again, it's a small crowd here, but we'll have the mic available and bring it out to you. So that'll kind of be the format, and if we get done a little bit early, that'll be to everyone's advantage. And again, we got family fun night coming up, so they'll need to be getting in here and setting up any number of arrangements. The big deal will be inflatables for them kids. They can bounce around in the cage, burn off some energy. So Travis, you got the mic. Let's just get started. Does anybody have anything more to offer on the language conversation? Sandra? Okay. Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra Black Bear, and I teach over here at Sinte University, Lakota Language 1. What I just want to share with you is how I got into this. All of these years, I've always looked up to Mr. Bordeaux, and I used to always say, one of these times I'm going to be up there. I want to work there. I want to be a part of Sinte University. It was really hard getting in here. And every time I try to work someplace, somehow something always happens. Anyway, and I always go to my brother and I always say, hey, Chibolo, I got fired. I don't have a job. I need a job. I got to do something. And he always says, well, gee, go to school. And so I start taking up classes. And if they don't offer it here, I went to Sitting Bull College for 5 summers. I took up Lakota language over there. And I really learned a lot from going 5 semesters at those summer institutes. And during the summer, I used to come over here when Uncle Albert was around, and he used to always say, hey, Tojong, Hio, I need 1 more student. I have to have 5 or more students. So I said, okay. So I come over here and sign up. And they were talking about methodology and how to have different types of methods of teaching. And I swear I at least have 10 methods of teaching. And my brother kept saying, just go to school. I even slept on his fourth floor in his hotel room. You know, he used to feed me. And yeah, I thought, you know, talk about Ikiciyuskinpi. Only because I had a goal. My goal was to teach Lakota language. I can teach song and dance, I can teach outfit making, I can teach all kinds of stuff. My mom and dad, my aunties and grandparents, they taught me a lot of stuff as I was growing up. And I could share all this, but I wanted to teach language. But I had to have an education. I had to be in that category where I can start raising up, moving up. And it took a lot of work. Sometimes I used to always say, hey, gee, I'm just a little old Lakota. It's hard to do. You know, I get put down so easy. I really have a real low self-esteem. And it was hard because I see, all I used to see myself as just a little old Lakota. But I tried my best. I went to school, I went to work, I went to school, I went to work, I went to school. And taking up all those classes, and all of a sudden, my friend calls me and said, they need a Lakota language teacher at Sinte University. And I said, yes, I'm in. So I came over here, and I applied, and it was advertised, and there was no teacher, so I got in. I walked in the classroom, I stood there, and I looked around, and I said, oh, man, it just felt like I was dropped in the middle of the ocean, sink or swim. I stood there and thought about it, and I said, I can do this. I learned all this. I started teaching. In my first maybe 2 semesters of teaching, I used to really want to be in a hurry because I'm a Lakota speaker, and I taught many places. You know, I even taught here for 10 years before, in St. Francis and Todd County. I worked at Head Start, and I thought, I've learned so much. I might as well use it up before I get too inuktala and die of old age not accomplishing anything. So I stood there for a while, and I started teaching. Then I jumped, and I was really in a hurry. I thought I was just teaching everything real fast. And then pretty soon it dawned on me, and I said, hey, how many of you guys speak Lakota? None of them. How many of you guys took up Lakota language? I don't remember anything they taught us. I said, oh, okay, I better slow down. And it takes time. It takes time to teach. You talk to them, you teach them. I mean, there's, like they were talking about, you know, grammar. That's where I'm at. I teach them grammar. I teach them all the vowels, all the consonants, how to make recognize the diacritical marks, make all the sounds. And then I started doing syllables, and I started saying the words, teaching them how to say the words correctly. Then I taught them how to do the sentence. That's the syntax. You know, I was surprised at myself, and I feel good about it because I didn't know that I had learned so much, and I was just sticking them back there and just feeling bad because I couldn't get a job. But I got welcomed here, and I've been here. This is my 8th semester, and it feels really good because a lot of my students are learning. And I always tell them, learn to learn. Learn to teach yourself. I'll teach you how to start it off. Grammar. I don't want to jump the gun because I said somebody else smarter or, you know, somebody with a lot of education can come in and teach you the next steps. They can. Somebody can teach the next steps, whatever they are. But me, I want to teach the beginning stuff so that they can understand what they need to learn, how to use that tool. I used to always, one of my main goals a long time ago was I used to think about the spotted tail. He said, take the white man's tool and learn how to use it. About my 3rd year at Sitting Bull College, we went with Pine Ridge and Eagle Butte and Fort Yates, and I thought we were all going to school up there, a whole bunch of us, all around my age. And talk about the stubbornest pack of Indians. I thought we were stubborn. I thought we knew it all, you know. And here, about the 3rd year, my brother kind of said, quit fighting them. Jeez, he said, just learn their techniques, learn their methods, learn the grammar, and then use your language. So I thought about it. And, oh yeah, I can do that. I use my language. And that's how I'm teaching right now. I'm using my language. Everybody knows how I talk. That's what I'm teaching, but I'm using those methods, and I'm using those technologies, the grammar of how to make a language work. And it, all of a sudden, it just started falling in place, and I've been having a lot of fun. I mean, I teach these kids. Sometimes I tell them stories. I said, we don't have no, we're kind of lacking cultural teachers here right now. So in the meantime, I'll teach you some cultural stuff. Teach them about women's situations. I teach them about children. I even teach them about men, because in my life, I've always had men. I have dad, I have my grandpas, I had my brothers, I had cousins, I had friends, some of my best friends, you know, and I have sons that I had to teach. So I never did go and say, well, men's different and women's different. No, they can't do that, they can't do that, you know. I just tell them, okay, I'm going to do it this way, I'll show you. And then I can tell you about the men's way, and somebody will teach you that. You'll learn it as you go along, you know. And I have a 12-year-old right now, and I told him, I said, I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to show you what men's roles are and women's roles are. I said, you got a lot to learn, but I'm not going to show you. You got uncles and grandpas that are going to show you how to do all this stuff. So I teach them things like that in the meantime. I teach them a certain thing about English, about the grammar and the Lakota, and then while they're working on it and teaching themselves, I teach them reading and writing, and how to say it. I teach them how to say it and how to use the word, the syntax. And in the meantime, while they're doing all that, then I tell them stories. I tell them, sometimes I even sing songs to them. I like to sing, so you know how much shit I have to sing to them. But I'm really having a good time, and at this point, I think that I earned it. I worked hard, and I got a lot of setbacks, but you know, it helped me because it made me want to climb higher and harder. So, you know, that's all I just want to say, because I'm teaching Lakota language there, and you guys, you know, get those degrees and certifications, and you know, come there, teach. I'm only teaching the beginning parts, and that's it. Grammar. A, E, U, A, A. E. 8 vowels. That's what I teach. Chli, Rita, Hoch, Chli, Chli, Pa, Pe. I teach them that stuff, how to use your mouth, how to say all the Lakota sounds. Because if you're talking Washichu, you can talk, you don't even have to, half of the time, you don't even have to move your mouth. You just make all these words coming out. But Lakota, we move, we talk about everything. Pa, O, Po, you know. Aspirated, unaspirated sounds. There's even a sound that comes up, vibrates off your head when you make a sound. I teach them all kinds of stuff, and I have so much fun doing it, you know. One of the hardest things I did learn while I was going to school at Sitting Bull College was developing a curriculum. I tried to copy the curriculums they gave us as those are Washichu style. So I had to try to make it Lakota way, that Lakota thinking. I always say, think Lakota, think Lakota. It's the only way you're going to do it. And I want to share my work. I want to share my work with all the Lakota teachers around. And I always tell my students that share when you go home. Share with your kids. Do it, try it, practice it. The reason why I say that is because that way, a lot of them, they don't speak Lakota. So that way, they're all learning as you go along, the same level. I talk to my tacos the same way. And now I got some great grandkids. I'm teaching them Lakota same way, you know. But that way, if we share and we help each other and we all work together, we can make it work. Only 600. I panicked when I heard that. I thought, holy smokies. It's just some Washichum cops. But it is hard. And teaching is one of the best things that we can do. We can save. We can save it and we can bring it on. All the work is out there. I thought in my class I recommend all kinds of books. They said, "Are you going to teach from these books?" I said, I'm going to teach you guys what I already know and what I learned. But I'm going to use these books as references. So if you want to know something, it's on page 179. It's on page 103. Look for it. You'll find it. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's already been done. Everything is already done. Now, I don't want to compete against anybody, but I just want to teach the people the beginning of how our language can start. They told me I was a real stubborn woman. I said, you bet I am. I said, I'm a Lakota woman. I'm stubborn as can be, boy. I stand on my 2 feet if I have to. But I use it to teach with. I want to share. I want to share all my work. It's a lot of fun. I have jokes. Sometimes I tell jokes. Sometimes I'll tell stories. I sing songs, and I tell it where it came from. I even tell them who it came from, you know, what year it came out. Ta Ikiciyuskinpi oblake. Ato honki katakus ehani unspemakab. Na umaspe haned cha ashna. Gadohashna najina shna unspe chakya. I found out it's easy. Once you have that paper, once you have that backup, and somebody gives you that, opens that door for you. Somebody will always open a door for you. So let's stick together, let's share. I'm willing to share. Yuha copies Wakake, na Wakanake. Nana Ochijakte. Don't ever say, no, you can't say that, or laugh at them and say, ha, ha, that's not how you say it. Don't ever say that to a kid, because you know what? If they do, that's it. Us Lakota people are stubborn, like I said, so I thought we put that block there. It's really scary for these kids. I learned that from my grandkids. And it's really scary. Don't ever say. My dad used to always say, "Tu ani hiya waki hishnio, tu ani hishnio, waki." I learned how to change oil, change flat tire. I know how to make a fence. I know how to drive a tractor. Well, if I can do all that, then I can teach Lakota, because it's already here. I can teach it. Must be. Chawaki ash. I have to learn how to also follow rules. Tuawa kuwajima kuhanta uganashna ichamo. Atukutogana wonspa king the catch ashna gonna chamo. Ochmashta. La Lakota Eyapi la Hocoka. It's really funny because then tapachela Lakota and atakun washija blue ears kashnanta washija abhe. Tapachewa like in the pen kille atawakpazona akehechna bacha unwa. Now I kick up kili wasna tawagalachepina. Washija words come right in between. I don't spend my time. We have descriptive language. We have substitute language. And we can make a long, descriptive language, right? It's a wichaza. This is a wichaza, you know? And you paint with the marker, it's a wichaza. But it's really interesting as you teach yourself and you start learning how to talk to people and listen to people. All of a sudden, you start realizing that you can make it work. Lakota Woglakapi nahashna. I really wanted to visit them because we really like to visit. Italy na makasi tomni komani. But you know, things like that, it works. You can work it any way you want, and you can put it in here, and put it in here, make it come from here. Let's share our work. I want to share mine. Hitchel ta Wakan in na kho Yuha spe ab hanta aki Yuha Woglakapi kukikte. Na ata ipach bach naunji manat kishna kishna lasna wataku gus naunji hanta tuani uspoktish. Uspoktish uta. Che yes ati Yuha ashna taku cash onki chab hanta wastikte. Let Hocoka hier hand toen ik chuag lakish ni chimish na lachtelo was cham hat ni lachtish na ma met geklas gehitsch na awag lakinas taku speech hakinas na iwachat in a wo taku wo ich ga hono with balaki na ma speech hakinas na kiglab as amay tabsh ni chin lak khot yabu speech ho as spe api speech ichab hocha Leonard glus naunjim hanta the 600 gilad next year I'm gonna maybe it'll be 1,200. Maybe we'll make it more. But we can do this. I want to share. That's what I wanted to say was I want to share because I have learned so much. Learned so much from a lot of these leaders. And I usually honey won't be a hubcha. They tell us and they talk to us. Hanta, we can use it. We can use that. We can use their techniques, and we can learn to teach with it. Nan wogalag on speeching kyak late on speeching kyak fantastic. Ashna in Wichoy on Jinach on Chashna one, Chakanashna Ashna. Owanashna ad. Hetun in Nachushin ash, itro, iblutkington. Make it into a sentence. How do you make the word? Lakota you make it into the word, how you make it sound. Well, you explain to the students how this word works in a sentence, the meaning of it, and you teach them how to say it in a sentence, like a syntax. That's teaching them. That's teaching them how to use a word. And Lakota people, we have a whole bunch of words. If I said machwa or belugo, that means a lot. It means I don't have to be here. I'm tired. I want to go home. I'm sleepy, you know? But I like being here. This is the first time I came here. And I'm really glad to be here. Like I said, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to listen to everybody, whatever everybody says, and utilize it. And I'm going to share. I want to share with everybody, whatever I have. One of my students works in a newspaper, and she said, "You want to start putting it out there?" I said, "You bet." You know, I want to use words out there. I want to share. But I want to share them. I want to teach them how to say it and how to utilize it. Hetchels Woglakapi hanta yes onach umashte. Hetchel takucha Woglakapi hena ukachne hakte. Hochapilam Eyapi Ayaki Hachantoashana Pechiuzapi.
Homitake Eyapi. Trokelachji Yokpiana Pe or Choose Papi. I own quickly from St. Francis Indian School, working in a language development program. This going on my 6th year. I am a product of Sinte Gleska University. I came out of the Cultural Resource Management program. And in that program, I have to describe that I got an education in both worlds. With the European education, I was able to acquire knowledge in anthropology, archaeology, preservation laws, environmental protection laws. On the other hand, I got a good self-identity from the language, from the history, learning about tribal government and traditions within the culture. So I was able to put these two together, and in my time spent here as department chair of Lakota Studies Department, I was able to move on with the language in helping to develop and create 2 linguistic courses, and that allowed us to look into the aspects of syntax, conjugation, and everything else that goes with the linguistics. So moving on to St. Francis Indian School, I was able to go into the language development program and look at the 4 components of a human being. And in that case, the 4 components of a child, which is their physical being, their emotional being, their intellect, and of course their physical, emotional, intellect, and the spiritual aspect. So with this design, with these components in mind, we were able to go into teaching the language alongside teaching the values and the virtues of the language. With this, we were able to, with the help of the elementary principal, Danny Wakan, we were able to develop a curriculum there at SFIS, calling it the Lakota Living Language Project. And the name of that self-describes that we were able to use our very own resources, which were the staff members themselves. At the time, it was Stella Iron, White Hat, Shirley Witt, Henry Quickbear, and myself, and then Danny. But we were able to complete a curriculum, the first strand, calling it the Hochschitala strand. And with that, we took all of the things that we do on an everyday basis. We eat, we go outside to play, we're in a classroom, we greet each other, we self-identify. So using those aspects, we were able to come up with the correct language in introducing ourselves, introducing our families, looking at everything in the classroom. And we were able to use it in a context where we would ask a question and then somebody would answer back. And that really strengthened the conversations between the students as well as student and teacher. We did the second strand last summer, calling it the Koshkalaka strand, and that's specifically geared toward the middle school, high school. And with this, Danny did some research and came up with the questions and answers, and of course we translated and put them on into workbooks, and now they're being digitized so that a child can sit down at his or her Chromebook and bring up a certain strand and be able to hear it. We did record the strand 1, so you can put in a CD in a classroom and there will be a lady saying it, and asking a question and then giving an answer, and then the male side of it as well. So we're working on the 3rd strand. Hopefully this coming summer we'll be able to put that together, and we'll go at that for next year. Now, each strand, each unit of each strand has a complete assessment, and the strand has a teacher guide. So we're able to assess a student and see what they picked up and where we need to review and do more work. Now, the data that we collect from the assessments for the strand 1, they did indicate that the speakers that were doing very well, the students doing very well in each strand and each unit, they came from speaking families. So that tells us 2 things. It tells us that we need to go out to the community and work within the families. We need to get out to the community and work with the community leaders, and then taking all this data and going up to the tribal leadership as well, so that they may be the speaking model for us, hopefully one of these days. Now, the plans that we have is that we want to work collectively, yuptayala, collectively. That's really a significant word. It means collectively, and we have to do this together as a tribe, as families, as communities. We can't just depend on the children to learn their language. They gotta be able to go home and hear it from their families, hear it from their elders, hear it from their siblings maybe. So with that, I want to go into something, and it might not have anything to do with teaching the language, but it is the reason that we need to teach the language. And that is that the United Nations have a criteria of what defines a tribal nation and what defines sovereignty. And the first one, the very first criteria is language. We need to keep our language to be sovereign. We got to keep that in mind at all times. Now, the federal government has a definition of a tribal nation, and that includes language. They have to have their language. And now, in the crisis that we have with the federal government, did everybody hear that Trump is planning to dismantle all tribal nations? And he's going to be making us a race. So we will no longer be tribal nations, but according to Trump, we will be another race. Now, this tribe is one of few tribes that has their own orthography, and it is modeled by one of our own tribal members, Uncle Albert Whitehat. So we have that going for us. And then I want to go into what seems to be a buzzword, true decolonization. If we were to decolonize, we would need to integrate Lakota into every area, every subject, including science, including math, including reading. So if you look at the English language, you're going to be able to see that in English, you take a word and you're able to manipulate it. The best people that do this are lawyers. You take an English word and you're able to manipulate it to be what you want it to be. Not what it is, but what you want it to be. And that's the English language. In the Lakota language, what we say, Gatia Eyapi. Gatia, meaning straightforward. So we really mean from our heart what we say when we say something. Now we do at St. Francis have activities that parallel the language as well. We have the summer camps where we take the Wikoshkalaka and the Koshkalaka and teach them what they are supposed to be learning as young men, as young ladies. We do have a treaty class right now taught by Lita Brandis, and it's been a success. We were able to go on to the commemoration of the Fort Laramie Treaty and actually have one of our students explain what they learned and what they see in the future with this particular treaty class. We do have buffalo hunts, we have honorings, we have everything there paralleling the language. So we're not teaching just the language by itself as a separate thing, But right alongside that, we try to teach the values and try to teach the traditions and the culture. Now, if there's one thing that frustrates me, it is arrogance. We have no time to lose. Gail Spotted-Tail did she did a survey some years back. And since then, the number of speakers have gone down. But how many speakers have we produced? That worries me. And we have no time to sit amongst ourselves and say, this way is better or somebody's way is better. We need to be collective in the things that we do, in the thoughts that we have, in the language that we speak. Years back, because I never taught any language courses, Uncle Albert asked me to go to a conference. At the time it was called Sadabi. I don't know if that exists anymore, but it was going on at the time. And so I went, and he said, there's a reason I want you to come. I want you to see something. I want you to experience something. And when I got there, I was able to see what he was talking about, that our language needs to be done collectively. And I saw what he meant, because in the room, somebody had a method, somebody had a way of teaching, and it was good. But somebody else would stand up and say, well, this is what I do. And it was good too. But there were several different groups in a room that all said the same thing. This is my way, no other way works. But then he stood up and said, every way is a good way. Why can't we all collectively put these together and keep our language? And it taught me a great deal about language. It taught me that there is no room for arrogance. There is no room for that at all, because we need to all be together. We need to all collectively do this. And it needs to start from our families. I don't teach language in any classroom, but I do in my own family. I'm starting to see how important that is. And I want my children to talk it. I want my grandchildren to talk it. And they have to live it. Unfortunately, we have too many social obstacles that doesn't allow a family to learn together. And so that brings it back into the classrooms. And because we are mandated by other organizations to do things in a process in a Washichu way, that everything has to be documented, everything has to be written. We do have to have lesson plans. We do have to have, and we do need the help of the families. And we are asking for that. We are asking for the families and communities to step up and help us do this. Ho, Pilamayapia.
Anybody else want to address the language? Oh, okay. Jackie, want to? Well, she's getting ready. I'm going to just backtrack a little bit on what Dr. Green talked about in terms of the accreditation, and we were kind of driven by HLC with a new regulation of higher education faculty having credentials in the discipline and the course that they're teaching. And so that's kind of forced us to really look at certification, people's credentials, and to their credit, South Dakota State University is providing graduate coursework tuition-free for our faculty. So there's one way we're trying to address the advanced credentials. Part two is a current emerging discussion. Sherry Redhouse here, way back when she was director of the Tribal Education Department and put together the Tribal Education Code. But there's an interest in re-looking at the Tribal Education Code and adding some provisions regarding post-secondary education. And so, as you heard this morning, that the university's charged with credentialing, so to speak, or certifying language speakers, which makes this have another dimension of policies and procedures that the university might be expected to develop and follow through with. It's my understanding the Tribal Education Code is being looked at, and the Tribal Education Department's, like I said, going through this process of updating it. So there's just another important aspect of the discussion on Lakota language and culture. Jackie Whitebird just joined the staff at Sinte University, has a master's degree, and she was talking about some of the work that she wanted to get involved with. Right now we have her serving as a curriculum planner for our land grant programs and for both academic and extension type of program that we're trying to put together for the future. And so she's just joined us and suggested that she'd like to offer some perspectives here. Jackie? You can just take the mic over here if you want. Or up here.
Yuha Dayamachenka. Cancega Wakawi Lakota Chajeki Manchapi. I'm from the Whitebird Tioshpai, Sinte Gleska Tioshpai. I had, this wheel is like 20 years in the making, and so it briefly describes every section, every area that you could possibly use the Lakota language in. Okay, so when I first started teaching with children, that was 19 years ago, and I worked in an immersion classroom at St. Francis, and it was first, second, third grade. My students were from homes that nobody spoke the language. Their grandmothers and grandfathers, when they had an opportunity, they taught them songs or taught them how to speak phrases and how to use different words. So this, I call it the heartbeat of our language, because in it there's, in listening to what my grandmother had to say, she spoke to a lot of people at different times while I was growing up. But I was always around, serving them coffee and cookies and welcoming them into her home and listening to them. So I realized that in learning the language, you need to learn how and when to use it. So starting with kids, I have an auntie who worked for the Rapid City School District, and she always says it took a community to raise a child. And I always thought about that, and that's true, because no matter where I rode my little bike around town, there was always a relative that if I crashed or something, they'd pick me up and say, Takoja, you know, they ask me if I'm okay. They ask me to, you know, why I'm over there. So they send me on my way. So a community was always looking out for each other. I wish it was still like that today, but we've come a long way and things have changed. I also talked about the Lakota Okolakiciyé, which was run by Robert Cook from the Rapid City School District. In that time, he helped put together a program that helped the students that they would be skipping out of some class because they were being bullied, or they weren't attending half of the day because they had a child to go take care of. So his program helped get kids to finish school. So I thought it was kind of a group effort. So they all worked together and helped each other to get done with school. And so Robert no longer does that. He's gone on to other things. And from the National Congress of the American Indians, it's with unity that we are strengthened. So it takes everybody to come together to make things work out. So if we have an idea, we tell it to everybody and it starts the ball rolling, and sometimes things work out. Not always, but mostly they work out, and we come up with some good ideas. And for myself, even within resiliency, we have choices. And I said that because students I worked with, no matter what happened in their household that weekend, they had no food to eat, they watched their parents bickering, there was alcohol and drug abuse, whatever kind of abuses they were there, they still made it to school Monday morning. They came and they were ready to work, no matter how tired they were, how hungry they were, they still made it. So on my chart over here, there's some big words like theory, cultural continuity, self-knowledge, advocacy, spiritual bravery, social and political context, reflective praxis, and community, our commitment to social justice. So at first I didn't come up with the non-Indian words on there. It was the Lakota ones on there. For self-knowledge, just teach yourself that. You can teach yourself a lot of things, a song, how to say a prayer, your auntie's name, uncle, how to speak, how to ask questions, how to communicate. Another one is advocacy. Takuku hena Yuha iyowia cha paskastake pikta. So in order to really get into what some of these are, it takes a whole semester to learn about these. I had worked with my cousin, who's Carmen Eaglepipe. I forgot her married name, Carmen Whitehat. We were close because we're from the Ashke clan, so still part of the clan. Another one, spiritual bravery. Another one, social and political context. Ampetu waji nitrawakte. That means one time you're going to have the day is coming, you'll have your say. You'll be able to show, and just kind of like I'm doing here. I had gone over these and I still talk about them. I asked different teachers, educators that work with our kids if they're really paying attention to them, if they're finding out what their needs are, how to approach students and allow them to learn what their needs are and how to ask for help. So reflective praskis, doha yewa chiglaka. So in time they'll learn how certain things are done in a certain way. They've done it a certain way. Grandmothers do it this way, auntie does it that way. It's kind of like learning our language. Always telling kids that don't make fun of people as they're learning, because we all started somewhere. We don't say it right all the time. Sometimes we don't even sing the same song in the same way. So our language is all about how we put it together, how our Tioshpai puts it together, how they are able to make connections. The one that's upside down is commitment to social justice. Oyate wichoha ahau papikta. Okay, it's a matter of your beliefs and where your family's at. My family's been on a property that's, my son is 9th generation. We've been on her since before the allotment days, so they couldn't get us to move off of there. So it was 7 brothers. The oldest granddad was high bald eagle, and he had 7 brothers, there's 8 of them. So all the tracts of land that they had, we still have most of that together. So it's kind of a conglomerate of family members. So now it's my turn to be out there and take care of that. I raised steers in the last 3 years and taught my son about how we teach the horses to help take care of those steers, to move them around so we don't have to get out there. We just tell them what to do and to that horse. We always let them know that we have a language we speak with in between. It's not really the horse whisperer. I guess it would be more than that, just a horse whisperer. But horses are our buddies. One of my cousins said, when you get to know that horse, you better get right up close and put your eyeball up to his so he sees you're looking just like him. So we had a good time finding out about how to communicate with those horses. But my granddad would have been proud of me because I raised a big herd. I finally sold them, and the guy came along that was loading them into the semi, and he was screaming around, and I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm trying to herd them in. You don't have any help. I said, no, you come sit down on the fence and watch my horses do the work. He said, are you kidding? I said, no, just get out of the way. So my horses all loaded up the little calves and the bigger steers into different semis, just because they're taught that. So that's part of our communication skills, not only with our people, but with the animals that we work with. And there's a theory, though, Iyuksha na ichu. Think about it. You have an idea, make it come to life. And so this is what we do with some of our children. They have an idea. We were making paper teepees one time. And what's the word that goes with TI? What is that? You know, I was asking them questions. That's where Tioshpai comes from. That's right. So from there, we went on to making designs. Because when you come outside that teepee and turn around and look back at that teepee, what's on the ground is from above. So our teachings were like that, come from the sky world. So the Lakotas deeply believed in reincarnation. So we had an opportunity to teach our children what was up there was on the ground. Our Tioshpais had that, and a lot of us are still being taught about that. And when I was a little kid, I was looking at the back of my leg and seeing some little weird skin deformations is what I called them. And my mom sat me down. She said, Takoja, it's very seldom we have a family member that has these on there. These are the markings from where you came from. So our people don't have that anymore. There's not too many full-bloods left. And so the teaching is disappearing. So as I'm getting older, there was 9 different specks on my leg, and now there's only 3. So I know I'm nearing the end of my journey. So it helps to be able to teach and pass the things on that I know about. I don't have any nieces. I have 46 nephews, 46. And they're not going to want to sit down and listen to Unchichi talk or Tui talk about things because it's not my place to teach them. There's a part on here that says cultural continuity. Wicawotapi, Ichi Tramahel Yazam, Naha Lako Wichoha. When you stop and think about that, somebody asked me, where are they hurting at? It's not that. In the non-Indian world, we have people asking or talking about what you're yearning for. What is it that you're really yearning for, to make happen? So we search our feelings. I just talk about the school counselor. There's some that are really good and some don't even make the grade. They don't, you could tell the nosy counselor versus the counselor who really talks about feelings. In our school systems, nobody asks our children, how do they feel? How did that make you feel? You know, where do you hurt at? What is it that makes you feel like this? And how are we gonna straighten that out? How are we gonna do things a little bit different so you can understand how to attack your feelings? Work with them and get to know how your reactions would be. the next time their feelings are hurt in such a way. Always talk about our chiefs, and one of them is Chief Crazy Horse. He talks about knowing yourself. So, we're looking in the mirror. All our kids do that. They look in the mirror. Even us as adults, how many of us really look at ourselves and self-talk? What do you feel about yourself? How do you think you really look? And, you know, we see people trying on clothes, really looking at themselves. Such a thing as being vain, but to know yourself, to take a good look at who you are, where you come from, how are things right now in your life versus 10 years ago. I ask young people, what did you do the last 2 years of your life? They can't seem to remember. And I'm one to say we should go on a service. You should become a service member. You know, become a member of the U.S. Marine Corps, or make your people happy, because back in the old days, this is what we did. We did it because we became that. We became a young man, and he wants to walk into the footstep of his father or his granddad. So these are things that we talk about today as kids are growing up in this world. Chief Crazy Horse asked us to know our strengths and weaknesses. How many of us really do know about what our strengths are and where our weaknesses are? Can we put the Lakota word to that? And the other one is know who your friends are. People say that you're judged by your friends. Who are your friends? Shouldn't be that way, but it is. And so some people decide not to have too many friends. So things work out for them. Some of them have way too many. It's in your own environment, and kids need to know to pay attention to that, who their friends are. Also to know the enemy. Today's community out there, the enemy isn't just people, it's stuff. It's the abuses that are out there are disruptive to any family's environment. Last part is in preparing to really learn how to use Lakota language, we should be learning how to use it in communication skills. And I've heard a lot of people talking about that today, and they have really good ideas. A lot of people have good ideas. One of my favorites is to stay in the language. When you're talking and you're role-playing, say it all in Lakota. They're going to pick it up. They'll be paying attention, and they want to know about it. Tokahed is important. If we can't speak it, then write it or draw it. That helps our kids, the Lakota. I had a lot of brothers, and they're all left-handed. And out there, in the people that write curriculum and write about how our people learn, they're always saying they are right-brained. Well, it just fits that we're all left-handed. So our people, it's going to take one of us to do the curriculum that makes it work out for the rest of us. Ohia said back in 1932, said, enable yourself to catch the spirit of human nature. So all arts around us helps us to learn about how to describe how we feel, where we live, how to communicate, and how to work on ideas, find solutions for the problems that we have. So we need to teach this to those who need it, want it, and deserve it. So this is falling down now, but there's 8 of these on here. Every one of them, if students are hurting their feelings, we always ask them, where do you fit on that wheel over there? Somebody is really an artsy-craftsy person, where do they fit on that wheel? This is just a group of words that help us to put the language in a certain area that we're able to really learn about it, use all the words, the meanings that go behind it. So even talking about social media, where does that fit in there? We hear some of the people on the local radio station talking about the day. Some of them do an excellent job with that. So I never put people down that are trying to learn the language, because the old ones are going now. They're leaving. And who's stepping up to take care of what's next? So it's up to our children to ask that question. As they grow with the language, they should be taking it with them. Even if they're into technology, then take the language with you. So one of the things, I always ask people, if you have a computer, go to languagegeek.com, and you're able to download Albert Whitehat's you can type on your computer how to use the glottal stops and all that business on there. So I appreciate time and effort. Thank you.
Oh, good evening. Wajanamina Amte Hanichada Eyapi. Manaskapmani Hingaire Makare Yadikshane. My name's Terrence Cleveland. I'm from the Ho-Chunk Nation. I'm trying to start a powwow club for a university, Sinte Gleska. What I wrote down on the flyer is Sinte Gleska is interested in starting a powwow club and would like for you to sign up. Any one of you who want to take part in that. It's a great experience. The powwow club will give you an opportunity to travel, and you also get a good insight on the powwow world. I think you guys call it Wachipi, if I'm not mistaken. It's always good to learn about your culture and where you come from, as not only like Sichango Lakota, but as a Native American person. If you're looking to travel, have a joyful time, why not join? And the benefits, this is a great learning experience, like I said before, getting a better insight on what powwows are about, and traveling to different cities and states, as well as different Native communities. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Well, my phone app went off, and weather service is offering a wind chill warning, so, but we got daylight right now, so I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. In looking at the theme, the next chapter of this is Sichango and Sinte University, it's our intent here to carry this discussion forward in terms of our efforts at tribal nation building. So what we don't get covered here, there will be focus group sessions on the individual topics as follow-up. We talked about cultural preservation, sacred sites, and one of the things that we've been talking about in terms of academic programs is people that are involved with the cultural preservation of sacred sites, but also cultural archivists, and I think you heard that word earlier, cultural archivist. And right now, in terms of our strategic planning, we're updating a master facilities plan, and a lot of the staff said we needed a new library. And we've added that thought with archives. And there's a tremendous need to raise the next generation of those who will be doing the research like Victor Duville does, and the storytelling. The storytelling is really important, as you heard, to pass it on to the next generation. There's a lot to be learned. So just know that we're talking about some different credentials that could come out of the WNHEC accreditation effort, along with, like I said, ongoing needs for cultural preservation, sacred sites. Spiritual and healers. Again, there's an ongoing discussion there, and you heard the president talk earlier about bringing everybody back together, and I really appreciate Sandra and others saying collectively. We got to come together collectively, because that's our strength, being unified. And President Bordeaux's made a big commitment to try to see that come back and emerge. Treaties in history. Last April, people came together at Fort Laramie in Wyoming to, I guess, acknowledge, maybe not so much commemorate, but to acknowledge the 150th anniversary of the 1868 treaty. It's still very much a live document. You heard about Trump and what he would like to do, but we stand on treaties, which are the supreme law of the land. And that's where the battle's going to come up next. One of the challenges for educators and researchers is how do you take that 1868 treaty and the provisions for education, for health, and put a 21st century spin on that. That's going to be the challenge for us. Asking the federal government to reaffirm what they committed in exchange for a lot of real estate, but also how do we translate that into the treaty provisions. So I know there's going to be efforts in the future here to continue that discussion, both 1851 and 1868. And just as a side note, for me, got a little personal. Last summer, went up to Crow Fair. They were celebrating their 100th anniversary. And on the way back, I stopped at Fort Phil Kearny. Never been there before, always heard about it. It's just north of Sheridan, Wyoming. And some major battles, conflicts, military conflicts happened there. And a result of the Lakota and other tribes ganging up on the cavalry, the 1868 treaty emerged as and they called it a peace treaty. And when it was said and done, they didn't sign it all collectively in April. They started in April, but clear into December, they were still getting signatures to the 1868 treaty. But here I was walking in there 150 years later, where Fort Phil Kearny and all the other forts along the Bozeman Trail were forced to close. So for me, I just went out to the battle sites. It's one thing to read about it, to be standing out there where something happened historically and know that that continues today. The stories that come out of that, like I said, it got a little personal for me. But it puts in perspective the work that we have in this next chapter. So treaties in history continue to be important. I got to give a shout out to Ron Hutchinson. I think most of you know Ron in our business department, but as an attorney, he has been very faithful in monitoring court decisions and legislation that are impacting Indian country today. And again, we talked about this current administration looking at chopping things down. We had a major federal court decision against the Indian Child Welfare Act. There's legislation being passed in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska in response to our missing Native women, our murdered Native American women. They just found another girl in the Cheyenne River here last month. So there's a lot of attention on what needs to happen there in terms of federal and state legislation and policies. And again, there's a lot of people that are standing up for the human rights of Native people. And then the last deal we need to talk about, song, dance, regalia-making, art. Right now, as we speak, we're doing a ribbon skirt making contest, or workshop right next to here on the other side. And we keep on hearing different pockets on the reservation of people that are actively reaffirming cultural practices, and that's a very good thing. And personally, I've been kind of impressed to see the younger generation coming out to the sun dances and getting more involved. So the song and dance, the regalia making, here we're talking about a Wocekiye, maybe having a dance club. Those are all important pieces in terms of reaffirming indigenous culture and practices. So those are some of the things that we'll continue to follow up on. And it's kind of exciting stuff, but it's also a lot of work that needs to be done. And again, I want to reinforce that it should be a collective effort, a team effort, and we can really do some neat things to shape up this next chapter. President Bordeaux, last comments?
Phil Bastelo, Opila. Lewana Eonkina Cont'd, Yuha Tony Ahip and Opila Tranka, Ikiciyuskinpi. Tako ota Waokile, e chunk unktirchi. Na otko kiatona le Waokile ponka iapo hena. Si chakuki oyate chetka chahenai. O chunku onji, tokata ki unkichi chakokta chejo. To hunyo ki Wolakota kile. Glusuk umni han uyonkte elp. Chahene chahechit kan harshi. Abat is akili ha skiunki chap. Chadel tona leam petuki ha. Hiota kan oyaki akile wopilat kanka. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here today and braving the weather elements. But it was a good kickoff, and we have a big agenda yet to go through. But we want to thank all of our listeners, not only locally, but also beyond our own reservation and even globally. You all are remembered in our prayers, and we wish you the best, and we call upon you for your assistance, be it intellectually or financially or any other way. We've had some tremendous donors that have really helped us over the years. When I think of Tad and Beck in New York, keeping our art program going, they've probably helped us with $10–12 million over the lifespan. When I think of the Bedford brother and sister who helped us with $7 million, that helped us get the Heritage Center, amongst other things. And then the Lannon Foundation, Pat Lannon Foundation, who has probably given us about close to $20 million now over the years, that helped us build this gymnasium and our technical building over here. So we've had some tremendous donor support, but we need a lot more. And we would again appeal to the listeners that there's a place on our internet computer there where through your credit card you can make donations in our behalf. And we would, like I said, thank you, whether it's $1 or whatever you can afford. It really help us go forward to continue to strengthen the efforts that our founders put into operation when they developed Sinte Gleska University. And we have a long way to go when you're talking about strengthening a tribal nation and expanding an institution of higher learning. These require a lot of resources, but we know in time that when something is good, there's always an answer somewhere. So in closing, I thank each and every one of you. We love you. We wish you the best. Stay warm. And those of you can make it back tonight for fun night. And tomorrow, those who had an invite, we would appreciate if you would continue to come and show your support and be involved in behalf of the institution. Pilamai apelo. Thank you. Sandra, Wocekiye Eyapi.
Akimitake piuhat santaasta na pechizapi. Waya wan kate wan lila. Tuktogana ta iankina ha eta Lakota oyate ki ha wons be Yuha te gerecha Woglakapi na Kuapi. Hoyunka na Lionel lila pinuyapi. Dona lele unyoke chobna ha Woglakapi. Lila tako iwashtaste ota Woglakapi yunka hana wopilat khanka hecha. Wana Yuha aketiata ke Ungalaktanka o chanku kislutina iwoblo. Ja iwan galabana taya aketiata okinashimpikte hna ja Wocekiye Eyapi no Waya Wakate wa el Woglakapi na ha wons pe unha punkalana na ko wopila hecha na hechna Hocoka ki agamani ukte. Trakashla lehan petuki ake Waya Wakate Sinte Gleska. Waya Wakate wa el uhina jimpina taku ota tuktogna ungluas na ha ungluas akak te genecha trakashla Woglakapi. Na woyuk chanstesta Yuha trakashla Wate kile tona skamna skinchi abana Wokeya kile na Yuha trakashla hoch makrasi tomne lila onkiapi woke onkicha pena trakashla onkia punkhaniyo trakashla naukichich umpehna Wocekiye Eyapi na tona hiu kile na is antaya iwanglakte yukha trakashla trati topa na unchimakha Lena Yuha cheche Wocekiye trakashla le petuki tona le Waya Wakate unkiwita na we chosen na woke Wanglaka watching trinka woyuk chanstisten na wachonte wastekilana trakashla Hocoka Yahamani ukte hechali cheche unshila pena onkiapi cheche trakashla unshimama mitako asing.
Thank you, Sandra. In closing then, I want to express our gratitude to John Hacker and the Environmental Services crew for getting everything set up here. They had a busy 2 weeks getting ready, and I see the boys that keep on swabbing the deck out there. We track it in snow and ice, so we'll give them, like I said, a special note of gratitude. And then Roger and Pauline, thank you for your time. This opening day of the 49th SGU Founders Week is a wrap. We're done. Drive safe, folks.